People want to argue that addiction is a disease, it's an illness, that you are sick, that you are an air quotes alcoholic, and that's fine. People get to believe what they want to believe, right? But I think really what's super helpful in recovery from alcohol addiction or any addiction is to think critically, to think for ourselves, and to see which path of recovery works for us. Under the disease concept, we are forever broken and forever need maintenance on our forever addicted identity and self. This is all baloney. I just read a book called The Biology of Desire. It is super, I don't know, amazing. The subtitle on this book is Why Addiction is Not a Disease. This is by Mark Lewis, PhD. I'm actually have a whole free deprogramming group called the Deprogram Lounge. This was our book of the month. We have a book club in there. And it's super insightful. Some of the things that Dr. Mark Lewis said, he said, any sequence of mental action that's frequently repeated tends to perpetuate itself. He's framing addiction as a habit. Now, it can be a fatal habit for some of us or a dangerous habit for some of us. But the idea that we have a disease, it's baloney. So this commenter right here writes, alcoholism is a disease, though it is chronic progressive illness that involves changes in the brain that affect behavior control and decision making. Yes, our brain changes with, and our brain changes with thinking new thoughts. Our brain changes with doing new behaviors. Our brain is constantly changing. Neuroplasticity is a vibe. We all know about it. Yes, we can change our brains. And but the idea that we have a forever disease and we are forever ill, that is like an option of whether or not you want to identify with that and choose to believe that. I believed that when I was inside 12-step ideology. I was brainwashed. I was indoctrinated into the disease concept that I had a so-called fatal progressive disease and that I needed to be in this forever recovery model, which really was I needed to forever recruit for 12-step and devote my time to free labor for 12-step ideology, to give my time away, my energy away, to perpetuate Alcoholics Anonymous. Otherwise, I would essentially die because the threat there, I wasn't doing that by choice. I think volunteering is great, but inside AA, I wasn't volunteering. That so-called service work was demanded. It was required because if I didn't do this stuff, I would have something called untreated alcoholism, which was going to lead me to pick up a drink, which was going to lead me to a jail and institutions or a death. Essentially, there is loaded language throughout the 12-step, throughout the book Alcoholics Anonymous, that is essentially saying, I am going to die if I don't do AA. And the way that I got locked into the system was at the identity level as I'm an alcoholic, but it's also through the concept of its disease. Now, if we go back to how AA started, good old Bill Wilson, the founder of Alcoholics Anonymous, was treated at the Towns Hospital by Dr. Silkworth. Dr. Silkworth, after 6 months of Bill he had some like white light belladonna experience, the spiritual experience while on the psychedelic belladonna in the hospital as part of his treatment for alcohol addiction. And so he perceived that he was interacting with God. God was the wind. He was on a mountaintop, and that he knew after that people had to have a God experience in order to give them the shift that would enable them to stay sober, right? So he went around, he convinced Dr. Silkworth that he should go to the other patients in the hospital and convince them they need to find God. Can you imagine that today? If you're in a hospital and some patient comes in and tries to convert you into his new religion. Now, this was Bill's new religion because when he was inside the Towns Hospital, he was converted into Oxford Group. His friend Ebby was a recruit for the Oxford Group cult religion. And so they were converting him for months. And then when Bill was in treatment for alcohol, Ebby and other Oxford Group members were coming in while Bill was on his psychedelics, the belladonna treatment, and being converted into the Oxford Group cult religion. It worked. He got converted. He found a relationship with a higher power. Now he is actively going through the hospital trying to convert other people into a religion. Can you imagine if that happened in America today? Because this was in New York City. One of the patients was on the loose. He has like a week sober, and he's trying to convert you into a religion. This is bananas. This is batshit bananas. But that's what happened. But then after 6 months, Bill was noticing that nobody else was coming into his new cult religion Oxford group. He couldn't get any recruits. So he went to Dr. Silkworth and he said, Dr. Silkworth, nobody is coming and joining this group. I can't get anybody to get sober. Nobody's listening to me. And he said, well, stop preaching God. Why don't you tell them that they have a disease and that it's going to kill them, a fatal disease. When they believe they have a fatal disease, then they're going to listen. Once they think it's forever and once they think it's a disease that wants them dead, basically, they will listen to you about your God baloney. So that's what he did. And that's how the disease concept, as far as I understand it. Of course, I don't understand everything. This is just one perspective on this whole shenanigans about how America and globally we got indoctrinated into the idea that alcohol addiction is a disease. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Do you think of alcohol addiction as a disease? Have you read The Biology of Desire? I thought it was a great book. I love reading books on other ideas about addiction, especially by smart, current, relevant doctors, not a 1930s doctor who was giving Bill advice on how to sell his cult religion, the Oxford Group. Look forward to hearing you in the comments. Bye.